Hello everybody and welcome to WLTV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you like bubbles? I like bubbles. I think everybody likes bubbles. And bubbles come from champagne. I'm a humongous champagne fan. I drink champagne all the time. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say it right now, champagne is my favorite wine. You know, champagne is the perfect way to celebrate. Celebrate a friend's life. Celebrate being on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. A lot of reasons. Celebrate a Super Bowl. You know who's getting it this year. I'm going to do an excellent episode of champagne for you today because I am a huge fan of champagne. I am the biggest fan of champagne that I really know in my inner circle, and I'm really excited about doing this episode. Champagne is 90 miles northeast of Paris, right on the Belgian border. Also, 75,000 acres of champagne are planted, mainly from three grapes: Pinot Meunier, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay. 35% of all of Champagne is Pinot Meunier, probably the grape that you're least aware of. So it's a very important grape to the region. It's a really interesting fun fact that I think a lot of people don't realize which grapes go into Champagne, so I hope you like that tidbit. Champagne is broken down into three basic categories: non-vintage, vintage, and luxury cuvées. For example, non-vintage wines are the ones that you normally see: the Clicquot, the Taittinger, the Bollinger, Pérignon, Moet. Then you have vintage wines, which you've seen of those same exact wines with a 95 or 96 or 92 or 90 vintage on it. And then you have the luxury cuvées like Dom P or Cristal or Laurent Perrier, Grand Secla. These are the top wines and really the ones that kind of get the play. I am a big fan of champagne, and that's why it breaks my heart with what's going on in the United States of America. That's right. In the U.S., we don't know crap about champagne. We are drinking brand names. We're drinking Gallo, Santa Margarita, Kendall Jackson, Yellowtail of champagne. There's all these amazing grower champagnes. We'll do that in another episode. That I really think that you guys should seek out. So if nothing else from today, nothing else, please seek out different champagnes, grower champagnes, off the beaten track champagnes. There's so many great ones, and you're just missing them because you're drinking the same junk. Everybody's drinking the same junk. Let's move on, but let's taste some of the junk. So, Perrier-Jouet, non-vintage, very famous. I've drank plenty of bottles of PJ in my life. Always poured at a lot of events in the city. Let's see what we think. Interesting little chalky nose, little hints of apple, little peach, pear. So it's a very tropical, fruity nose. Covered a little bit in a little bit of stone, little blue stone, licking the stone. Good acidity up front, kind of falls apart on the finish. Not my cup of tea, a little off-balanced, solid champagne. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be offended, but not that much characteristics, just kind of bland. I don't know, all apple juice really for me, fermented apple juice. It's just basic stuff. I'm not a big fan, and that's it. Moet White Star, very famous stuff. I'm sure everybody watching this has tasted this champagne. This is just even more popular than the PJ. Moet is obviously one of the famous champagne houses, and fun fact time, Moet's luxury cuvée is Dom Pérignon. A lot of people don't realize that, and so I hope I taught you something there. Let's try the Moet. Very different nose, much more powerful than a PJ. I get a little bit of a charcoal, smoky kind of nose. Reminds me of sheetrock on fire, even though I don't think sheetrock can go on fire. Considering that I went into this thinking Moet White Star, this is showing pretty well. Has a nice pear aspect, good acidity in the mid-palate, finishes pretty well. For the $30 or $25 or $40 price tag that it is, I still think it's overpriced. It's pretty basic, but it's definitely better than the PJ. And to be honest with you, going into it, preconceived notions, to show this well, it's not so bad. It's a nice drink, and good job by Moet. Not a bad effort at all, actually. Kind of surprised. And you never want to go in with preconceived notions with wine, so it's hard. I've had these things 100 times, but I'm pretty impressed. The Alfred Gratien Cuvée Paradis luxury cuvée from a tremendous producer in Champagne. He's made a lot of great champagnes. I've been a fan of his wines at times, and other times not really. Spilling a little. Wow. Very powerful nose. Oaky, buttery, buttered popcorn nose. Also smells like cinnamon toast crunch, toasted nose. Kind of like baked bread. Very, very aromatic, very yeasty, bready. Yeah, that's what that is. Wow. Sneak a sip. An explosion of flavor. Very complex, very rich. Long finish. I mean, wow. Still going. Really long finish. Great acidity, great complexity. With caviar, this is a dream. I mean, this is an amazing bottle of champagne. Pricey, $80, $90 retail, but well worth it. Wow. Exotic flavors still coming in. Sour, pear flavors, just a lot going on. Very tropical, very fresh, great bottle. So, let's move on to the last guy. The Dom P. You know, Dom P gets a lot of play in a lot of circles in society. Very, very popular stuff. You see it all the time, absolutely everywhere. What else can I really say? They're marketing geniuses. I respect that. Let's see what the champagne's doing. Now, the 96 Dom P was unbelievable. This is the 98 vintage. So vintage is very important in champagne, just like everywhere else. 98 vintage, 93 points from Tanzer, 110, 125, 150 bucks, 400 in those certain clubs, you know. Similar nose to the Gratien, but not as much pizzazz, like a minor league version of it. I do get a hint of pineapple in the mid nose, which is quite exotic and nice. This Dom P is okay. You know, it's showing a lot of flavor, very solid, but not killing me. Not as good as the Gratien, and I wouldn't recommend it. Seek out different champagnes. The Grower Champagne episode is coming. Good stuff. Let's go to the questions of the day. Steve says, Gary, nice tribute. Sorry for the loss of your friend. Gary, I was surprised to see the thumbs down rating on the 2003 Haut Bézac in this episode. You had tasted the same wine back in episode 23 with descriptions such as huge classic nose and extreme elegance. In this episode, you said it almost had no nose. Are we talking about the same wine here? How could there be such a drastic difference in two episodes? Maybe a bad bottle? Steve, great question. I saw a lot of people jump on this question as well. We've talked about this on WLTV. The ambiance, the mood set, where your mind's at, who you're with, affects the way you taste wine. I would say yesterday's episode, even though I really appreciate all the great comments, should probably be thrown out. My mindset wasn't there. You know, I definitely was in a different place, and you know, it really affected the tasting. I tried to fight through, but it definitely had an impact. Now, besides that, I'm a professional. I really did, you know, get the taste in and really saw what was going on, and it was tight. It was very closed, and it just wasn't as open as the bottle I had prior. Went back to my notes to see what happened in episode 23. Episode 23, the wine was open for about 25 minutes longer, so that should have no real impact. I did, after the comments started streaming in, go back and taste the wine this morning when I got into the office, and it's opened up dramatically and tasting a heck of a lot more like number 23. So to answer your question, I think there was a couple factors. I think it was a tighter bottle, you know, just one of those things sometimes, a little bottle variation. It's also 2003, a very young vintage, you can get that, and I think my mindset had a lot to do with it. So that's the answer. Gene V says, among other things, Gary, don't you think a lot of the 2003 Bordeaux is asleep right now? 3 years after vintage is usually about the time they close down. Gene, yes, I agree with you. And you know what? In the 30 or 40 or 60 days since episode 23, maybe that's what was the impact on the difference even in the Haut Bézac, even though on the second day it did really act more like it. We need to talk about shutdown and closed and shutdown periods in wine, in serious red wine. I will get to that in the future on WLTV. It's definitely something beginners want to learn about. Great point, GV, and to answer your question, yes. Jay says, Gary, great video interview on Wall Street Journal online. A question popped in my head. Being that you deal in wine so much in your life, do you have your own personal collection? How large is it? Jay, time to be exposed. I have a crap collection. I really have never built my own collection. I've always built WL and always kind of used Wine Library as my personal collection. Sure, I have a temperature controlled room down in Wine Library that there's some bottles for myself, but I've always said to myself, I can get that wine if I ever really need to. And you know what I found out? I should have saved a lot of 2000 Bordeaux. I should have saved a lot of 95 California Cabernet, 97 Italian wines. Now if I want to go and get them, they're 3, 4, 5 times the price. So I've learned a lot by doing it this way, and I think I appreciate you with this question because it's given me a kick in the butt to start doing something, because I'm a disgrace in the scheme of things. It should be much more serious, and I have a lousy collection, even though Wine Library has a pretty extensive, collection of wine. Bob Yu says, Gary, are you ever going to do an episode on Barbaresco? Bob, yes. And that leads me to the question of the day. What is your favorite champagne of all time? Tell me the story. Tell me when you had it. Was it a wedding, a celebration? Also, if you've never had a great champagne or have a favorite champagne, why not? Why have you never tried champagne? Or what didn't you like about champagne? I would be really, really curious. Finally, final notes. I want to thank everybody who watches WLTV and comments and brings so much love to me. I really believe the reason that we were featured in the Wall Street Journal was because of Wine Library TV. I think we're doing something totally different and creating something unbelievable together. I want to fight through every day and do every episode. The fourth quarter's coming and I'm really scared because I'm here 15 hours a day as it is, busy every moment. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do WLTV in that era. But I promise you I'm going to try with all my might. And and again, I just can't thank you from the bottom of my heart enough. This is Gary Vaynerchuk on the cover of the Wall Street Journal, so you don't have to be.